You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shoe In Show. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to talk to different segments of the footwear industry to get the pulse of what's happening as we launch into spring 2024. So I'm happy to have on the show with me today, Michael McCauley. Just so everybody knows, Michael and I went to college together at Gardner-Webb University many years ago at this point, but he's a dear friend of mine. Michael runs a running shoe store down in Augusta, Georgia. Some people may know the company Fleet Feet. And Michael, welcome to the Shoe In Show. I'm excited to chat with you today about what's happening in the running retail segment.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Fleet Feet, tell me about your store in Augusta as we start off. Like, paint the picture for what a Fleet Feet retail store looks like.
Yeah, so we've been in business probably about 14 or 15 years coming up. And it varies store to store. Some stores are owned by franchisees and some are company-owned stores, which is a nice mix. We service customers that come in from all walks of life, whether it's my podiatrist sent me in, or I have diabetes and I need good shoes, or I'm about to go run a 50-miler and I need to get set up with the proper gear. So it's a lot of fun. We probably have about 40 staff members at this point and are doing a lot of business. We're very fortunate, but it's been good. It's been a lot of fun so far.
So you said you have about 40 different staff. How difficult is it in this market? Because we know, we look at the data and hourly wages are way up. So it's got to be hard to retain good staff. But also, as running a running specialty shoe store, I'm sure, and we can get into this too, but it's a lot of hands-on, right? There's a lot of customer service involved with that. So is there a lot of training that also goes into that?
There's a lot of training, and it's easy to retain staff because I can only speak to our store, but we try to create that really positive environment. It's my philosophy is we treat our vendors, our customers, and our staff really great, and everything else will follow from there. So we treat them well. Definitely attracting good employees is always a challenge. We get 20 or 30 applications a month probably, and maybe hire 2, maybe less than 10%, I would say. It's great. And it's very hands-on. We've hired people that have worked at other retailers. We recently hired a guy that worked at a local coffee shop, and he sat down yesterday and told me how he spent an hour and a half with the customer talking about how terrible her life is and what she was going through, more or less. So it's definitely a different environment.
Yeah, that's like shoe therapy almost.
But it's interesting. And there is a lot of training that goes in. We probably train, depending on the person, for at least a month before they even help their first customer.
Wow. So tell me the process. I want to buy a pair of shoes at Fleet Feet. I want to go to your store. Do I set up an appointment? Can I just show up? And then once I'm in the store, what's the process that your sales team goes through to find that perfect pair of shoes for the customer?
That's a great question. You can definitely make an appointment, but ideally you shouldn't have to. In our environment, you will come in, we have a full-time greeter at our shop. So you'll, like a hostess or a maitre d'. So you're going to be greeted. You're going to be taken care of by that person. Let them know that maybe there is a 5-person wait list. Maybe just let them know where you are in line. And then the sales associate is going to approach you, welcome you, ask how your day is going. And then we have a system to where we're going to get permission to actually take you through a fit process. We're going to get that permission. We're going to do an interview process that involves a bunch of different questions. Why are you here? How did you find out about us? Aches and pains. What are your goals? What are you going to be using the products for? And an assessment process. So we're going to evaluate, look at your feet. We have a really great, Fleet Feet has partnered with a company called Volume Mental. You're probably familiar with them. It's been a game changer for us because we can email those scans to customers. And what happens is typically most customers will share that email with friends, family, coworkers. It's a very informative process. And from there, it comes down to the outfitter the sales associate as to what products would be great for that person and what wouldn't. We simply make recommendations, see what's comfortable, what they like, and then go from there.
So what in terms of brands that you have in the store? I think we know Brooks, we know Saucony, we know Nike.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some new emerging brands that are in the marketplace now, like Hoka and On, that we hadn't seen in years past. Is that the typical assortment that you guys have in the store? And is that what when someone comes in the store, do they have an idea of the brand they want, or are they just really open to suggestions from the associate?
It goes both ways. And I think that, so I helped a guy yesterday who was sent by his doctor. He has diabetes and some foot problems. And this gentleman did quite a bit of research the day before coming in. But what was fascinating was, while he did all the research, I acknowledged that, and we talked a lot about it. But then he was open to any recommendations I had at that point. So it goes both ways. I think most people are getting online and taking a look. And he told me how overwhelming it was when he was doing that. And then I was able to narrow it down to 4 or 5 options for him. We carry about 12 brands, to answer your point too. Hoka and On are quite fascinating at this point. Hoka's our number one selling brand. It's and I think it's that way across our industry for the most part.
Yeah.
I did a little research. We're selling over 14 pairs of Hokas a day in store. That doesn't include online. We're selling, Brooks has actually risen up to number 2 in recent months. We've seen a little bit of a decline in On. I don't quite know why that is. We're selling over 8 pairs of those a day and about 9 pairs of Brooks still per day. And then you got New Balance and some other brands that kind of follow up. One of our, funny enough, one of our top brands, it's not necessarily athletic footwear, but it's UFO sandals. I don't know if you've heard of those, but that's quite a podiatrist recommended and word of mouth product that in the last 90 days, we've sold over almost 300 pairs of those, which is pretty good for winter months.
Yeah.
It's really been fascinating.
Is it like, are you selling it like as a recovery?
Yeah. It's a recovery product. It's a lot of the podiatrists, the PTs, the chiropractors are sending people in for those, saying, don't go barefoot, wear these around the house, put them by your bed, that sort of thing. And sales will tick up dramatically as it gets warmer.
Do you think do you try to cross sell the product that somebody comes in for a sandal, you'll try to sell them? Or, I mean, obviously in this environment, like you got to make a sale every time someone walks in the store.
Right. If we try to train our outfitters, if any product is relevant to that customer, and that's why the interview process is so important. I tell them all the time, if a nurse comes in and she's on her feet 12 hours a day and you don't talk about compression socks, like you've not done a great job. However, if a runner comes in and asks for XYZ and you don't recommend this, it doesn't make sense for certain products for certain people.
Right.
So it definitely varies.
That's it.
It's very individualized.
It's like thoughtful service, right? It's like the value add that you're providing.
Absolutely. Like we're not gonna,
like they actually care.
Yeah. If we find out that you're walking your dog at 4 a.m. in the morning and we don't bring up a reflective vest that might save your life, like we haven't necessarily done a great job.
I have not yet seen doggy bags that are in the midsole that people can just pull out as part of the dog walking package. But hopefully one day, I have a dream that someone will come up with this genius idea. Maybe it's Polk footwear. Do you have any space for Polk footwear in your store? Because that was
if I can be an investor or whatnot, let's talk about that later.
Yeah, it's typically a couple of beers. That's all it really takes to invest in my companies.
Easy.
No guaranteed profit or return on that, except wisdom from the beer.
There you go. Perfect.
Supposed wisdom. Tell me how you feel business is right now as a retailer. And I want to go back too, because 15 years ago, if you think of Fleet Feet, it's like very specialty running. So you're talking about getting referrals from podiatrists, from health providers, people coming in off the street. Is that reflective of a change in your business strategy to become more of a general athletic shoe store versus a running shoe store? What's the interplay between that?
That is such a great question. It's so relevant to our business. It's probably gone. I haven't done this really for about 20 years overall. It's gone from probably 75% to 80% runners. And people that consider themselves runners, they're running 25, 30, 35 miles a week, which is wild these days. So probably 80% comfort, medical referral. I work at a used car lot and I'm on my feet all day type customer to probably 15 to 20% runner. And that's something that, to be honest with you, as a sales associate and as my staff that works there, it's a lot of fun because, like I was telling an employee yesterday, at one minute you can be fitting an ultra marathon runner, and the next minute you're fitting the 90-year-old lady that it goes to the mall twice a week and walks half a mile. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of variety. And it's definitely changed our business. I feel like our business is pretty recession. What am I trying to say? Recession resistant.
Yeah.
You can edit that, but pretty recession resistant. Definitely not, we're not above it, but at the same time, we've got such a wide variety of customer base. It's pretty amazing. And it's been really good for business.
So, Mike, you've been a runner your whole life. You ran in college. Obviously, this is one of the reasons why you got into a running shoe specialty store that you have. How do you look at product today versus even 3 years ago? Do you see a lot more innovation, a lot more comfort? You found a lot more value in the shoes that you're selling today versus 3 years ago?
Oh, yeah. For one thing, 3 years ago, as prices have gone up dramatically.
Yeah.
So value, I would say value is a tough question because prices have risen so much. I will say product, Brooks is a good example. They came out with we've historically told customers that our shoes last around 300 to 500 miles, depending on a variety of variables. Brooks, for example, came out with the shoe probably 2 or 3 years ago that lasts more 700 to 900 miles. And the shoe cost maybe $10 or $15 more than the previous versions. So long story short, yes, there are some better values out there. There's also, you get into the carbon plated shoes. Some people call them super shoes. Those are, technology it's wild. However, with that said, those shoes are going to cost $200 to $300 a pair, and they're going to last maybe 100 miles. So it really depends on the consumer. It depends on what they're looking for as well, and what we have to suggest.
It's interesting. I also know, I think Saucony's coming out with a shoe that could last like 1,000. They're working on, all these shoe companies are working on something around that. I've always talked about, and I'll get your feedback because you're selling direct to consumer, but I had this idea for forever because we talk about sustainability and we talk about value, and I always had this idea of selling a shoe per mile, like cost per mile. You go into the grocery store, you can look at a unit item and say cost per ounce or something like that. And that's how you compare it. And it'd be really interesting too to talk about that, because adding in 200 more miles for 10 more bucks seems like a really good value. And I guess it's just reading the customer when they come in. If the guy's working at a used car lot and he can get an extra 200 miles walking around that car lot for 10 bucks, that's something he would probably you could probably upsell him pretty easily on. But I think it's such a new thing that we have as an industry.
It is. It's really new. And I think that boils back to being honest with those customers and telling them, suggesting at least what they need and what would be ideal. So I think there's probably some retailers out there that don't want to sell a shoe that lasts for 800 miles because that person's going to come back less and less. But my opinion is, if we're honest and we do that, they're actually going to be bought into our store even more and come back. And maybe if they don't even come back, they're going to suggest it and recommend it.
Yeah. And then obviously that's also where you can sell accessories or any other value add thing on the side, just like we're talking about compression socks or Polk footwear where you can get the doggy bag right out of it.
Exactly.
You and this is a positive note, you are right now opening a brand new store. You're working on it right now. Is that because business is so good that you're opening another store? Or is it just an opportunity that you had to do that?
It's definitely both. We've been wanting to open another store for 5 or 6 years at this point, but we just found a prime location really opened up. So that was part of the situation. And then, our customers people ask us all the time, what's the best time to come to your store? When is it least busy? And it's so unpredictable. It can be a Wednesday morning or Saturday morning. It doesn't matter. And so our goal is to offload some business from our current store in Augusta, Georgia, and send them over to North Augusta, South Carolina, which is just across the Savannah River, about 9 miles away, and offload some of that so that the wait time is less at our current location and we can service our community better.
Yeah, so you're a multi-state. You're big time.
That's right. I don't know about that. We are multi-state.
The appointments that you have, like obviously not all retailers are going to do the appointments, but it seems like something that like the Apple stores do, where you try to say, okay, if I'm going to have 15 or 20 minutes or longer with a consumer, I might as well book a time source reserve so that they're in line, they come in and they feel like they're taken care of. Is that the idea behind having appointments?
That's 100% the idea. It's the other reason is yes, correct. But the other reason that we have a full-time greeter is to manage that because it's a little tricky when you have maybe, let's say we have three people waiting to get helped and then someone comes in with an appointment and they get to jump the line. But it's also an opportunity to show them and tell them that, hey, you can make an appointment as well and you don't have to wait for more than 2 minutes. But that is the concept. Absolutely.
How do you, because obviously you talk about someone coming into the store, they can do their scan on the voluminal machine. You ask a lot of questions. You're building like a consumer profile. Is there something similar to online sales that you have, or is it just a sell through for the online?
Oh yeah, so we've shifted our online sales. We are doing hundreds of orders per month online, and I'll give credit to Fleet Feet for this for figuring out the business model that allows if you're in my case, if you're sitting in Columbia, South Carolina, and you're at the Fleet Feet, which is a great store, and you're ordering a pair of shoes there, they don't have the color, the size that you want, and we have that. We are the closest geographical store to that customer. We're going to ship them directly to their house, free shipping, free returns. They don't have to return to the store. It's been such a win. And we do that in our store quite often too. A lot of times with what we call special orders, some people would call them not so special because they take weeks at times to get into the store. You got to come back. You got to try it on. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it looks ugly. I don't know. But with the online store, it might take 3 to 5 days. It'll get to you and you don't have to make that extra trip to the store. It's better for our customers. So we typically we offer that daily. And it's been quite a game changer for our business. It's also allowed us, which you'll be interested in, it's allowed us to carry more SMUs from various vendors. Brooks, they do their St. Patrick's Day drop. I'm willing to take a flyer on that because if we don't sell them in our shop, we're going to send them all around the US and sell them. Or Saucony comes out with some kind of crazy $250 super shoe, and maybe we sell 2 in store, but if we don't sell them in store, we're shipping them all across America. So it's been very interesting.
That's very cool. What your outlook for 2024? It sounds like you're very positive, a lot of growth that you see. You're opening another store hopefully soon, but is this driven a lot by new customers or repeat customers or a mix? You sound pretty optimistic about this year.
I'm optimistic. It's funny because but 2021, 2021, 22 were like huge growth years for us. So against all odds, it was really wild, and we grew probably about 100% within those 3 years. Last year, we grew a few percent, which we were really happy with. This year, we're up a few percent as well, which I'm okay with. We're trying to get our arms around things, to be honest with you, and make sure that our service stays really high despite the higher volume, which is why we're hiring, trying to manage our processes and our systems like we are. I'm optimistic. I'm not necessarily anticipating double-digit growth in 2024, but I think mid to high single-digit growth. I just don't see it slowing down. Consumers don't seem to care too much about rising prices as long as the service is good and the product is good. They're coming in by the drove buying gear. We're very optimistic.
Good to know. And it's interesting because we hear that too. People are trying to optimize and keep cost level or try to cut cost while continuing to provide good service. And so it just seems like a pause year where you're trying to figure out and get your hands around things. But this is the problem with the industry, that the industry wants to comp year over year. If we comped 1 to 4 years, you went 100% growth into single digits, but you do that over 4 years, you're looking at substantial growth that we had in our industry.
That's right.
So it's a new plateau that I'm sure you'll work on and figure out and eventually get the growth back up to where it was. But as an industry, hopefully everybody saved their shekels a little bit along the way.
Yeah, Absolutely. And reinvest in ourselves, right? Like it's reinvest in our staff, reinvest in our infrastructure, save our shekels. I mean, I think there's definitely some brands, and probably better than I do, but there's some brands that seem much more on the rise than others. And it's not the same old brands. So it's been very interesting to see how that's going too.
Yeah, so that gives you some fresh stuff to come in the store, right? Like I guess that's
Yeah,
where the innovation's coming from, is just something a little different, something like a brand new flavor.
absolutely. Absolutely.
As we wrap up today on the running shoe side, is there anything we needed to cover? And then from your perspective, working with brands, because obviously there's a lot of brands
Mhm.
on this, is there anything in particular that you're like, hey, we need to innovate better on this product or this type, or we need more help with promotions or
Mhm.
negotiations on discounting and things like that? Where do you, in your business, want face to face with the customer, what can brands
Mhm.
do better in this environment?
I was talking to our inventory manager yesterday, and the brands that give us more friction to do business with, I want to do less business with. And so and that's on the back end. That's not necessarily something that customers need to know or even care to know. But when I have a brand like Hoka or Brooks or Asics, Ultra is a good one. New Balance is a great example as well. When they make it so easy to do business with us on the back end, they're willing to promote events, sponsor stuff, give us money, give us product, give free shoes away to staff members so that we can better sell them. Those are the brands that I really want to do business with. Saucony, they're doing a lot better than they were as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for some of those other brands that aren't doing that. I think that it's a slippery slope, and it's super hard to measure for them and for us at times, but less friction is better on every single level for me. And I'm willing, when a rep from one of those brands calls me and says, hey, we've got this crazy shoe coming out. If you'll take 24 pairs, see how it goes, I'll work with you on the back end. I'm almost always going to say, sure, let's go for it. As opposed to some of those other ones. It's been interesting.
Yeah. Are you still pounding pavement? Are you still out running?
Dude,
Are you chasing your kids
I'm
around?
living vicariously through my wife. She's
Well,
running a lot.
as
I will
as
say, I've gotten 10,000 steps a day, every day this year,
Oh, that's
walking.
good. That's it. Hey, look,
Walking.
you can, right? I always say,
Yeah.
like, God created Henry Ford for a reason, for people like my body size that can just drive around and not have to run. So
I'm saying, baby, I got it.
if you're chasing me, I'm running, but hopefully there's no chase. I
I understand. I'm in the same boat right now. I got it.
Well, listen, Fleet Feet Augusta, the Masters is coming up. Yeah.
It is.
Does it get
Less
crazy?
than a
at
month.
Augusta? Does it like get
About a month.
super crowded?
Yeah, it's so everybody, all of our regular customers leave town. They rent their houses out, spring break for all the kids. They make a bunch of money, or they work at Augusta National. It's pretty cool. And then when they get back to town, business shoots up because they had a good week or a good week and a half out of town away, making a bunch of money.
There you
It's
go.
pretty cool. It's good stuff. We love it.
Awesome. Mike, if anybody's in Augusta, stop by Mike's store, Fleet Feet.
Please do.
And drop a line to us to let us know when the new store is opening just across the state line back in your home state of South Carolina. And yeah, so thanks for just joining us today to chat a little bit about what's happening and how you service customers and what you're seeing. Because I think it's important to get that understanding. And I think at this point, you're as a retail outlet shop where you're selling the product that's selling the most, right? America's more and more casual than ever, and more and more athletic. For it seems like socially acceptable to wear a pair of running shoes into a nice restaurant now. So,
Right.
it's weird a little bit, but okay.
I'll take it.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. That's what you should do. You should go to Morton's and do a crossover.
Hey, I'll do a little promotion, a little,
happy
trade,
hour,
a little trade.
running happy hour. Yeah, running.
I like that idea.
There you go.
That's great.
A tie and kicks, right?
Yeah.
It's in a way. There you go.
Take some on clouds out there.
Yeah, talk to one of your sales reps. They'll do it.
I like that idea. That's a good idea. Polk footwear.
There you go. All right, Mike. Thanks again, folks.
Thank you.
Show.com is the is our website. It's got our full catalog on there. We try to cover different segments of the industry to get a really good pulse of what's happening, especially as we head into spring and summer 2024. A lot of churn out there, a lot of opportunity too, though. So we're trying to be as optimistic as possible because we do think that we'll see growth this year. And again, if you go back 2019, before the pandemic, footwear was an $84 billion industry. Today, it's near $115 billion. We have a huge jump in our industry in terms of sales. Folks, as always, drop us a line if we can service you or help you in any way here at FDRA. We appreciate your time. And until next week, Shoe In is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.